guys, I am Dani and welcome back here to Summer Skye Gardens. So it's been a little bit since I did a full farm tour and I have so much blooming, growing going on here at the farm. I thought today would be a great opportunity to take you around, tour you around and show you what all is happening. It's actually nice weather this morning. It cooled off slightly, so that's also why this is a good day to do this. Before anyone asks, I'm rocking my Dirt on Flowers podcast t-shirt. It's one of my favorite podcasts. Great listen if you want to start a flower farm, if you're looking to get better with your business or just, some general growing techniques, go check them out. They also have merch. So I bought this cute shirt and a hat, but that's what I'm rocking today. So things have been doing really well here at the farm. We have had an amazing spring and beginning of summer season. Tons of stuff growing. The U-pick has been going very well. We've been opening up most weekend mornings. I also have been doing my bouquet subscriptions. I had a spring weekly bouquet subscription that just finished, and then I'm doing a 4 and 6 month monthly subscription. Still doing tons of wholesale florist sales, and that has really picked up a lot this spring. So I do that during the week. And then here and there I'll make like some custom arrangements or little things. I tried my first prom corsage and boutonniere, which went fine, just realized that's not my favorite, so I don't think I'll do that again. And then we actually hosted our first workshop on the farm, which was the weekend before Mother's Day, and it went amazing. I have a video that kind of talks through how I did the workshop, how everything went. If you want to check that out, I will link it below. But let's get started on the tour. And first thing I want to show you guys is the area that I'm in here, and I'll turn the camera around here shortly and give you a little bit better view. But this is my new chrysanthemum area. So I grow, people call them heirloom chrysanthemums. They're not technically heirloom, so I'm calling them vintage, but it's cut flower chrysanthemums. So instead of being those like big balls of flowers that people put on their porch and die in the fall, these are really like taller, funky shapes, all kinds of colors, chrysanthemums that are good for cut flowers. So the last few years I've been growing them in grow bags, first at my house and at the farm, and then I finally had time to come prep the area and plant them into the ground here. This area is right next to the house. It gets filtered sunlight throughout the day, which works great because in the summer it's so dang hot. They do not like to be in full sun where I am here in South Texas. We have 100-degree days for several months, high 90s, 100 degrees, or higher, and we have issues with maybe going through some drought, and they don't mind being dry. Chrysanthemums actually like less water than you think they will, but the heat and the sun can really get to them, so they do much better in having a bit of shade throughout the day. And this area works great because I have some big trees that kind of let some filtered sun in throughout the day. But I have, I want to say like a little over 60 varieties now, several hundred plants. So it's been kind of slow going to like get them moved over here, get them all organized. I am probably going to end up having at least 3, maybe 4 rows, and I'm going to trial covering 2 of them with plastic just to limit the amount of rain that ends up hitting them in the fall when they start blooming. I have several varieties, especially the lighter color ones, that don't do well with a lot of rain damage. It damages the blooms. So the darker varieties I'm uncovering, and then the lighter ones I'm covering, and I'm going to see if that works out pretty well. So let me turn this around and I'll give you an updated view. Sorry, I'm in an up close view. So you can see this general area right next to the house. So I can water them using the hose over here. I'm not going to set up irrigation because, like I said, they don't like a ton of water. And it's usually pretty easy for me just to come over and hand water or run a sprinkler. But you can see where I'm using fabric on the pathways. I'll probably end up mulching around them once they get a little bit bigger. I have labels for the varieties. I've also written down like on a little map inside in case I lose the labels. Planting all the cuttings. A lot of these are my cuttings. Some of these are mother plants that I've had, and then some of these, like this variety, are new this year. So this first row here is going to be uncovered, and then the second bed is going to be covered. And what I did is I just got some rebar here, nailed that into the ground, and then this EMT conduit pipe I got at Home Depot, and I have a pipe bender that I got from Johnny's, and so I could just bend my own hoops. And then I have some plastic from the Greenhouse Mega Store that I will put on top of these probably more toward in the fall once they get closer to blooming. I mean, right now if they get rained on, it's not a big deal, but when they start blooming, that's when I want to protect them. And then I still have this area here where I can add a couple more beds. I'm just waiting to see how I use these two first, and then I'll probably have to come up and just lightly till this before planting, because now the grass and the weeds are starting to grow up in here. But yeah, really excited about this particular area, getting all the mums in the ground, getting them organized. I will add netting as well because they get quite tall and will flop over, and I'll keep you guys updated on how this looks. All right, now walking over here, this is the newer Wildflower area, and it looks beautiful. I know it's really hard to tell with the camera. When you're out here in person, you can just see all the different flowers and colors, and it's really super lovely. People have really enjoyed coming over here and just seeing all the flowers all mixed up together, all the pollinators, like the butterflies that come visit. We let people cut from this for the U-pick, and people like to come over here and take pictures and just kind of walk through. I ended up mowing a path through the middle, and that worked out really well so people could kind of walk in the middle. I told them they could walk up in the wildflowers if they want, but there are a lot of ants, and I will not spray anything in the pollinator area. This is completely wild. I do not water this. This mix of wildflowers is a Texas-Oklahoma native mix that I got from Wild Seed Farms, which is in Fredericksburg, Texas. It's the biggest wildflower farm in the country. And they have regional mixes you can get. And really what you do is you just throw it all down in the fall. I tilled up the grass. I threw all the seed down. And I did it like right before it rained. And then just left it alone. I didn't water it, and I haven't done anything in here other than pick flowers occasionally. Once all this dies back at the end of summer and in the fall, I will mow it down, leave it alone, and that will disperse all of the seeds, and then it will just get even better and bushier for next spring. And I think the only seed that I'm going to add this fall to this area are a bunch of bluebonnets, because unfortunately with our drought this year, the Texas bluebonnets did not do well. So I'd like to add a lot more bluebonnet seed and add those in. But this area is just absolutely beautiful. And bonus, I get to cut from these flowers when I want to. All right, I had to put on my glasses because it is freaking sunny out here. But we're going to go through the kind of main U-pick area back here. And I say main U-pick area because eventually I want maybe just this field to just be the U-pick between this and the wildflowers. But this year I also let people go pick over in the production fields because that way they could get more variety. I had a lot of flowers over there, you know, by the weekends. If I hadn't sold them to the florist, I let people cut from them. If there was anything that I wanted to hold for the following week for my florist, I would go in and cut it like on Friday before the U-pick opens on the weekend. But I think people really enjoyed going through the different fields, walking around the farm and seeing all the different flowers. But this is kind of what I'm calling the main U-pick field, and it's got several different types of flowers. So let's go walk through here and I will show you guys. So first thing, we'll go through the end here. Now I did expand this area. Last year we had 14 beds and I added several more. I think it's like, it's either 18 or 19 here toward the end. This last area I had tilled up with the intention of planting more flowers, and I just didn't have time. You can see that bed is like fully weeds. So at this point, I just don't have time. I don't want to mess with pulling up all those weeds. But what I ended up doing with this area is planting pumpkins. In Texas, or where I live in South Texas, Zone 9B, you want to plant pumpkins about May. And they will grow through the summer and bloom and make pumpkins for the fall. So my daughter and I came out here and just planted a bunch of pumpkins, and they will get big and spread over this area and kind of crowd out the weeds. They'll probably even go over here. So I'm just kind of gonna let them go, do their thing, just watering them occasionally. You can see here my last successions of sunflowers have been essentially mowed down by ants. Now, I haven't heard a lot of people talk about this in other areas, but in Texas, we have a crap ton of ants. Fire ants are everywhere. Here at the property, I also have leaf cutter ants, which is probably doing a lot of this damage. And I will spray them occasionally. That's like the only thing that I will spray real chemicals for, but I try not to. And honestly, like, I just run out of time. And you can see where a lot of them have been clipped off, but I still have a bunch that are growing and blooming. And at this point, with it being kind of getting toward the end of May, I don't want to plant anything else because I take a break. Really, once I get into July, August, beginning of September, it's just too dang hot. And not that stuff won't grow, but I don't want to be out here all the time anymore. Yeah, you can see these. So the ants will come in and clip off all the leaves, but you still get the blooms, so that's fine. So I'm not really too worried about that. I get more concerned when it's like little seedlings. So the earlier successions I did down there and then kind of gradually came down here. So you can see back there are the white sunflowers and then the gold and then the darker ones. And that was kind of moving from spring to summer. And they've all kind of blown open. I'll still have some that are coming up into June. But right now I'm not planting anymore. I'll wait until August. I'll come out and start planting depending on the temperature so that we can have sunflowers for September and October and November for our U-pick. So this is Pro-Cut Horizon, which normally most of them should face upwards. But of course, sunflowers move with the sun. A lot of these are outward facing, but I still love them. They're beautiful, easy to plant. And here's another tip. You can see within all of my beds of my U-pick, crap ton of weeds. I don't go through and weed. This would be an insane amount of weeds to pull out. The flowers are growing. The people that come to the U-pick do not care. I weed eat along the pathways, and that has worked out just fine. Like you can see here, this area was like fully weeded. I had left this open to succession plant more and I just never got around to it. So it filled up with weeds. And before last weekend, I came through and weed eated all of this down and it looks fine. So, you know, that took me maybe 10 minutes to weed eat and it would have taken me like a whole day to pull all those weeds out. So hopefully this gives you permission to let weeds grow if you have to, as long as it's not affecting your flowers. And you can see here it's not. And you can still keep things looking pretty decent. I mean, would I love this to be weed free? Absolutely. But it's just not going to happen. I'm a one-woman show and it's just too difficult. So like I said, I just weed eat around the pathways. I use fabric for the pathways just to keep things cleaner and safer. Like I said, I have a lot of ants. If I let this grow and just mowed it, I'd still get a crap ton of ants, and that's just not nice for my customers. So fabric on the pathways, no fabric along the beds, especially where I grow sunflowers because I direct seed them. This is Pro-Cut Gold Light. Love these. Super, super pretty. And then this is Pro-Cut White Light. One tip on the whites, they are very susceptible to bug damage. Like you can see this one is getting chewed up. They're beautiful and you can catch them when if they just start to open here or they're more closed like this. That's when you want to cut them because then they won't get damaged. But once they start to open up fully, White flowers are just going to be the most susceptible to damage no matter what type of flower. Bugs, for whatever reason, love the light colors. That's roses, that's snapdragons, sunflowers, you name it. Lighter colors attract bugs. So here is a later succession of zinnias, and these were actually plugs I ordered from Farmer Bailey because I just knew I was going to run out of time for seed starting. I have tried to come through and pull weeds enough just to let the plants grow, and they're doing fine. And like I said, I'm just not super worried about it as long as the plants are growing. And you can see I also have some random sunflowers that have grown up from seeds that got tilled up from last year. Oh yeah, look, you can see freaking ants. These so far aren't eating my seedlings, but a lot of times I just come through and I'll just mess up their little pile because it's expensive to spray them, and I will do it every so often, but I cannot keep up with that. Now this bed was funny. I planted zinnias here, but I had so many seeds. So all of this was sunflowers in the fall, and I had so many seeds that got dispersed and tilled up. So they started growing, you know, all of these different varieties of sunflowers that I grew in the fall. And I just let these go. And I think it's so fun because they're giant, because they're so spread out. A lot, you know, most of them are branching. It makes for great pictures. Not necessarily the best cut flowers. I mean, some people have cut from these, but it's really cool looking. I still have some of the queen lime zinnias growing around them. Some of them within, you know, have died back because they don't like the shade, but super fun. I mean, look at all these. I call them my volunteers. I just think they look cool. And I'm like, hey, you want to grow here? I'm not going to stop you. Let's look at some of these up close. So a lot of like ombre colors. I do not remember all the varieties I planted in the fall, but they were all like ombre, funky shapes, darker colors. I forget. This one is either lemon or, oh Lord, some kind of starburst. I cannot remember. Let's see if we can find. This one might be Joker, I think. Love that ombre color. If you plant these closer and you pinch them, then they will actually create usable cut stems. But like I said, I didn't do that with these. They just kept growing on their own. And then another fun, let's see, there's the zinnias. And look, oh, weeds. But the plants are still growing. So once again, who cares? People can still come cutting here. The only bad thing with the zinnias is it can make them get more disease prone, having all these weeds up in here. And so any that are starting to look rough at this point, I'm just yanking the whole plant out. But otherwise, come through and cut, and I don't worry about it. Another fun thing is along the back edge here, I had put wildflowers in here at the very beginning before the sunflowers, and so tilling up the dirt a couple of times now to replant has just dispersed all of these wildflowers. They're gorgeous, they're fun. I just let them grow. I mean, look how thick they are down there. We cut from these. I tell people like, hey, you're welcome to walk up in here, just be real careful because it gets thick. There could be ants, there could be snakes, you know, so maybe not like really back up there where it's deep, but along the edges they can come up here and cut. But otherwise, I just let it go, and it's beautiful. It supports all the local insect life. So just let them do their thing. I had to turn this around so you guys could see how tall some of these sunflowers are that are volunteers. Let me come up in here. Like, look, I'm 5'8", and these are at least like getting to be maybe up to 7 or 8 feet tall. So super fun. Makes for fun pictures. Ugh, there's my arch nemesis. One thing I am yanking out, ragweed. There's a loner. I didn't pull out. I do come through and yank that out because I am very allergic, as are many people. But I will not pull this without gloves on and or maybe a mask. So I'm coming back for you later. In case you didn't realize, this is going to be a little bit longer video. Hope you enjoy. But I love showing people my flowers. All right, let's go over by the zinnias. Another fun thing about all the sunflowers is they also support birds because the birds love all the seeds. So like some of the bigger heads, I'll just chop off and throw them on the ground once they start to die, or the birds will come in and pick out the seeds. So here's some more zinnia seedlings. And then these are my Bennery Giants, which I love. They're big, beautiful, colorful flowers. People love these babies. Like this is actually a smaller one. Let's see if we can find, I mean, some of these get huge. That's why I love doing the Bennery Giants, doing a mix. Like here is, I mean, that's a big sucker. And once again, weeds, but hey, plants are growing. I just came through and deadheaded these and I pulled out some diseased ones. They're kind of getting toward the end of their rope. That's why you succession plant zinnias, because they are disease prone. But for now, they still look great. So I'm just going to let them keep going. Now this was supposed to be almost all mahogany splinter hibiscus, and you can see where the ants had torn down a lot of the leaves. But luckily for these type of plants, they will branch and they're still growing. Let's go back here where they didn't get eaten down. So these in the back, ooh, the weeds are really bad. I need to come up here and weed eat along the path. But this mahogany splinter hibiscus we grow for the foliage. It's beautiful, in different light. It will look purple, green, maroon. It will bloom in December, but we use it for the foliage, and you have to wait until it gets pretty big and bushy and has like harder stems, which happens over the summer. And this looks fabulous with sunflowers. So I'm not cutting on it yet. I'm letting it grow big. Oh, good Lord. Okay. This might be a little out of control here. This is Gomphrena with a ton of black-eyed Susans just popping up from the wildflowers. But beautiful, fun little balls of color. I did the hot pink and I think that's carmine and strawberry. I don't know. It's red and hot pink. Bunch of black-eyed Susans, just wild there. Have some celosia. I did not do good with celosia this year. I left them too long in the tray, so they didn't ever get that tall. I'm not cutting on them. I'm just leaving them for the U-pick people and for the bugs. But they might, they'll probably reseed themselves. And then Cosmos are pretty much done for, but they were absolutely beautiful at the beginning, and I used a lot of them for florists. You can see some of them are still blooming. I like growing the double click varieties because they get fuller. So yeah, that is the U-pick field. Let me come back here so you can get the full view of it. See, my poor little butterfly benches are looking kind of rough. I'm gonna have to fix those up. But from here all the way down, beautiful. And I like to, when people come out, I have this like shade tree here with a little bench so people can come under here and get a little shade while they're cutting, or they can put down their cups there on the bench, or I have those little like plant stand table things that they can use. So let's go over to the production area. All right, here is kind of the main two production areas. You can see I got the sprinkler going. So this year I've been experimenting with watering with the drip irrigation or watering with the sprinkler. I like drip irrigation, but unfortunately my well is really old, and even with the sand trap, the water still gets sandy, and I just don't think the drip irrigation is working that well right now. I think if the water was like totally clean, then it would work a lot better. So I said, okay, well, if I'm having a hard time watering because it's hot, I have sandy soil, so it's like I have to leave the drip on for like 3 or 4 hours, and it doesn't even reach some of the plants at that point. And I'm like, I don't know, that to me seems almost like pointless. So I might be getting rid of drip irrigation. I don't know. So I'm trialing out watering by sprinkler, and so far it's going really well. I mean, I'm worried about the humidity and getting disease on the plants, especially like the zinnias, but if I have to do this, I might just have to plant more successions, and maybe that ends up being easier. I don't know. You got to try different stuff out and figure what works, but let me turn the sprinkler off and then I'll show you what's growing up in here. All right, so we got the 2 production fields full up. Over there, my stepdad is still working on the bee sheds, almost done. So this first row is all straw flower. Been cutting on that for a while. This is almost all statice with some gladiolus in the very back. I'll show y'all closer. I love statice, one of my favorite ones to grow. And I love having different colors. This year I also added, I've always grown this purple, and I added this blue. I bought plugs of the blue and love, love, love it. It's actually like blue, which is hard to find in a flower. Lisianthus are looking good. I need to come through here and pull weeds. So they are putting out their first bloom, which the first little bloom will end up disbudding and let the other ones open up before we cut them. Now last year I had these before Mother's Day, but this year I think with just having a longer, cooler spring, they were late for Mother's Day, but that's all right. I had plenty of stuff for Mother's Day. Tweedia, first time growing this, is beautiful, true blue color, but it's really short. So I have used some, sold some to florists, but overall, a little disappointed with how short it got. And I'm not really sure what to do. My friend that grows it, that recommended it, hers get like 2 or 3 feet tall. So I'm gonna have to do a little more research on how to do this better next year. It's beautiful, it's just short. Here I have a couple of different types of mint, and those got planted not too long ago, so that's why they're still little. Snapdragons, which did not do that great this year. There's some cress that self-seeded itself, so not the best year for snapdragons, but you are not going to win them all every year. And this was just not one that did that great this year. Poppies were terrible. Last year my poppies were great. This year they were terrible, so yucky poppies. Amaranth that I did not pinch has now become broomsticks, which I have an idea, because they're so giant. I mean, look at this. You cannot use this in a bouquet, but I'm going to come through and cut this and dry it and make little flower brooms for the fall. And I think that'll be really cute. And this is hot biscuits, which is usually like beigey tones. Over there we have basil, which has not gotten tall. So another one that kind of sucked. I've used it in some small like jar arrangements. Azuratum here, love it. I mean, beautiful, like bluish purple color. Great for pollinators. So easy to grow. And one plant puts out up to like 10 usable stems, and I'm selling the stems for $1 a piece wholesale or more expensive retail. So highly profitable plant. And I have about half a bed of it, which is plenty. Definite must grow. Very, very impressed. This was my first year growing this and I love it. Over here, this is the Emerald Tassels Amaranth. Really like this. Florists love it. I cut a lot of this, which is why there's not a lot here left, but it creates these like long dreadlocks, which are really fun for arranging with. So I'll definitely be growing more of this next year. Look at this thing. Look at this hoss. Wow. That's huge. I'm gonna have to use this in the next week or two. Here had some old lily bulbs that regrew. I didn't end up cutting them, but I let them grow, so that's fun. There was all the gladiolus. I just impulsively bought 100 bulbs from Costco. They were beautiful. I'll grow some again, but they're not a highly coveted flower, which is why I don't do a ton of them, but I love them. They're so pretty. Over here is the old ranunculus and anemone beds, which I have not touched since they stopped blooming, because who's got time for that? And I don't need to use this area right now, so I'm just letting it go. Back there, we added a bunch more beehives this year. So we have a total, there's 12 out here, but 2 of them are my stepbrothers. So we're not gonna harvest out of those. But now we have 10 just of our own. Hopefully be getting honey mid to end of June. Here is the back production field. This green mist Ami is beautiful. I bought these as plugs, which I highly recommend because in my experience, it's hard to start it by seed. But super lovely, wonderful for beneficial insects. Ton more amaranth that I planted for the summer. Those all came in as plugs. I definitely bought a lot of plugs, a lot more plugs this year, because I knew I would just run out of time to seed start. Here's my stock. It was kind of crappy. I have a handful of blooms that I've been able to use, but you can see all the empty holes were planted and they died over the winter due to various factors. So, hopefully have some better stock next year. Let's go back here to these zinnias, which I'm going to come through and add more zinnias in all these empty holes. This is golden hour zinnias, which are left over from floret seed. Pretty colors. I need to come through and deadhead these so they'll keep blooming. And then Bennery pink, which is funny. It's usually supposed to be this, I don't know, Barbie pink. And a lot of them turned into this hot pink color, but they're both pretty and I've used them. And then you have one random white one. So those are all back there. A lot of these I need to come in and deadhead, because once you deadhead zinnias, they will start putting out a lot more blooms and look really pretty. These were some leftover floret mix seeds I had. They look like crap. I think I might deadhead them, or I might just leave them alone. This whole row right here, more zinnias. These are all queen lime. And I have like the different colors. So I think this is the orange and then the red. I love queen lime because of their ombre color. They don't get really big, but the ombre color they make is so pretty. Probably peach or lemon here. And then the like blush lime up at the front. Also interplanted some extra straw flower plugs I had. Here's my emerald beads cress, which is kind of on its way out. You can see it's gone to seed, which I will harvest and save for next year. So let's go over here. This was Bupleurum that I bought plugs for. Highly recommend plugs. I find Bupleurum hard to start by seed, whether it's indoors or outdoors. So that's all done. They didn't get super tall, so I was able to use some of them, not a lot. So I'll retry it next year and see how it goes. And then up in here, I started adding in the Aurora zinnias, which is a newer variety from Johnny's, and I love them. They have all of these beautiful ombre sunset colors. Over here, snapdragons. Once again, not the best ever. Let's see, more Aurora zinnias. Let's see if I can find some cool colors. So, I mean, they're like pinks, peachy colors. You got like yellowy colors. I came in and deadheaded these, so there's not like a ton of blooms right this second. I mean, look at this one. Ooh, so pretty. I love this kind of color, like this peachy pink. I mean, there's like a lighter yellowy, creamy one. Pink. Here's a lighter pink color. More of that salmon. So this was a really fun mix. Big plants, big blooms, ombre colors. Love it. And then back here are the ballerina, which is another mix or another new variety from Johnny's. And they're all pretty uniform. These really big, fluffy, light pink, creamy zinnias. Really love these. Florists love these. And now that I've come through and deadheaded them and they're growing some more flowers, they're starting to get taller, thank goodness, because the first blooms were all pretty short. But big, beautiful color. And then the last bit of zinnias, I think, is like the Dawn Creek Blush, which Florette sold, I don't know, last year, year before. And they're okay. I think they're trying to be like what the Johnnies are, but the Johnnies, I'll be honest, are better. I mean, these are definitely more pinky toned, different colors, but a lot of singles, smaller. I'm going to come through and deadhead them because I'll still use them. But I just think the Johnny's ones, when you look at them like side by side, if you want like a lighter pink beigey zinnia for especially like wedding work, I would go with the ballerina. All right, last thing, because it's hot, let's go in the cooler. I'll show you what's in the cooler, and that way I can cool off. All right, turn this around here, because I've actually got quite a lot in the cooler. Built this cooler, was it early last spring? I think like February last year. Awesome, I love it, still works fabulous. We built this on our own. I have a YouTube video you can check out if you want to see how we did it. Nice cool 40 degrees. I love it. So holding on to some sunflowers in here. And then here is the bit of stock that actually grew well. I'm holding this for my bouquet subscriptions next year. I've got the first couple of Lysianthus hanging out. So pretty. So pretty. Snapdragons. Pretty much everything that's in here is going to go into my bouquet subscriptions tomorrow and to florist orders tomorrow. Straw flower and status. So yeah, lots of stuff in here I get to use. All right, guys, I think that's everything. Sorry this was a longer video. I just thought it would be cool to really show you up close a lot of the flowers, what I'm growing, different varieties, and show you like the good and the bad. But mostly good this year, and I'm very, very grateful for that. Last year I had a lot of weather events that really affected the growing and the harvest and then being able to sell. And this year, so far, fingers crossed, we haven't hit hurricane season yet. It has gone a lot better. I mean, there's still going to be hiccups, there's still going to be things happening, but very happy with how the year has started. I've almost hit, so the total revenue that I got last year, like the whole year, I've almost hit that now at the beginning of May. So that's exciting. I mean, I'm trying to obviously up the ante, make a lot more money, but just based on the flower farming by itself right now, I am profitable. I have made more money than I have spent. Now that doesn't include the property and the house. I don't count that because a lot of people that flower farm where they live. I don't. So it's a little bit more complicated, but if I was living here, everything that I'm spending on the flower farming, I've made more money than I've spent this year, which is great. It's really nice. If you want to hear more details about that, let me know. If you have any questions, comments, hit me up. If you have any suggestions or video requests, I would love to hear those. I'm always trying to put stuff out that I think you guys would like or that would help you out. But I love suggestions because that's really what I'm here for. So thank you guys so much for watching. I better go do some more work, and I will see y'all in my next video.